The Raptors fall to the Milwaukee Bucks, 128-112. Welcome to Raptors Tonight, live from Real Sports. I'm Randy Urban, joined by Jack Armstrong, Leo Rautins, and Paul Jones. Guys, tough one, we'll say that, but at least we have some nice food and drink. Jack, I'll start with you. Where did this game go wrong for the Raptors?
They really struggled with perimeter defense tonight. I thought the Bucks, Lillard obviously in particular, and Beasley, that they did a great job and mid-screen and roll, getting splits. I thought that was a big problem tonight, was just being able to guard on the perimeter, and then it all came from there. And obviously you're missing OG Anunoby, who's your best defender, and not having Gary Trent Jr., who of late has been shooting the ball well. Offensively, it's hard to match up and sustain.
Yeah.
You know where it went wrong for me?
Yeah.
When I heard Giannis wasn't playing, I went, uh-oh.
Right.
Because Dame Lillard, last time he was in here, I had a real chat with him. He said, I've come to Milwaukee at the right time in my career. I don't have to worry, I'll figure it out. Kind of basically, I've had my team. This is Giannis's team. I'm just going to try and fit in here. There was no Giannis tonight. And it was, Dame, you know what to do.
Right.
I don't have to worry about Giannis, as Jack said. We're going to play screen and roll. The defense is spread. You got shooters like Beasley, Connaughton. You got these people that can stroke threes. You're playing screen and roll in the middle of the floor with Lillard, and he's getting to the hoop, and he's scoring, and he's getting fouled, and then he starts to hit a couple of outside shots, Leo, and you go, oh boy.
Well, one of the things I was saying that without Giannis, they've been kind of struggling, right, to find their groove. This was a great game for him, and again, it worried me because he can just let loose, do his own thing, take as many shots as you want, and he had his best shooting game.
Yeah.
So now this, hopefully for Milwaukee, depending on how long Giannis is out, this translates into maybe a little bit more confident Lillard going forward. But yeah, I would agree. It was scary when you saw that Lillard can do his thing here.
Leo, you made that point earlier on the TSN postgame, and I really liked it because I think the one thing for a guy like Giannis, he's now watching Lillard not as an opponent, he's watching him as a teammate.
Yeah.
So now I'm sure he's sitting on the bench going, how can I incorporate
I
that?
like a little of that.
Yeah.
My game.
So, I think they've kind of been getting in each other's way sometimes. And now I think maybe as a teammate, he looks and says, okay, that's what that guy can bring our team. Now, how do I incorporate my game to fit his, and how does he fit mine? So I think it's good for them.
He hasn't been shooting the ball great all season
No.
long. And
But again, tonight, he had, as Leo said, and that's what worried me.
He had carte blanche out
Total
there.
freedom.
Right.
Like, I know what to do in these situations when I'm the guy,
Yeah.
and I can play screen and roll, and I can make all the decisions, and I got the ball in my hand. Oh, I got this.
could you have defended him better? Or-
Well, what do you do? It's a pick your poison league. So if you back off the screen and roll, he's going to shoot it from Bay Street and make it, right? So, I mean, I thought the Raptors did the best they could, but once he turns the corner and gets into the teeth of your defense, now he's pitching it out. He had, 7 free throws in the first half.
Yeah, and then Dennis not, applying too much pressure on him kind of changes the way things go for him defensively, right? You all of a sudden are not making Lillard work too hard defensively because Dennis had a good game last time these two teams played, and he didn't.
But Giannis was there. So Dennis didn't have to defend Damian Lillard the whole time.
Yeah.
The scheme was, collapse on Giannis, build a wall, whatever.
Right.
They kick it out to this guy. I'm not saying Lillard was just like any other player, but he didn't have the ball in his hands in that rhythm and that feel that he normally does, and he's still trying to fit into a new system.
And I'll say sometimes you put Lopez and Giannis on the floor together, it can get a little clunky sometimes because Lopez is your spacer, in terms of, and they use them a lot in the high screen and roll, but now instead of Giannis, you have another, to your point, another shooter, another threat, so the space becomes that much more, so the splits look that much worse, and they look bad tonight, because if you make a mistake, a subtle mistake, boom, he's hitting that gap, and you're in trouble. And now Beasley had all these wide open looks, Leo.
Yeah. No, and the problem too is if you let him kind of feel it early, you're going to have a long night. And the Raptors definitely let him feel it early. So, yeah, but, hey, he's been one of the premier guys putting the ball in the basket, and he did his thing tonight.
And don't forget that obviously the Raptors handed it to them the last time these two teams played. This is kind of a weird question. Can that work against you when you win by that much sometimes because you know the other team's coming in extra motivated?
I just think it gave the guy on top, Adrian Griffin, something to look at.
Right.
And those guys know where Adrian Griffin spent the last 5-6 years. They know what happened in the last game. And Griff's no slouch. He's going to figure something out. He's going to say, that didn't work last time. I don't have Giannis. What might work? And so, Milwaukee they're now 5-2 since the last loss to the Raptors. And they're starting to figure it out a little bit.
Well, they're particularly figuring it out defensively. Tonight they held the Raptors below 40%.
Yeah.
I thought their defense was good. There was a point in the night they beat Chicago, and Coach Griffin says, "Hey, our guys are mad they didn't win by more, but they were winning by more over the last few years because they were really good on both ends."
Yeah.
This team this year so far has been good offensively, not good defensively.
Yeah.
Tonight they were good on both ends, thus they win a blowout.
Yeah.
I think it's important to make the point, too, that, okay, you kind of came out much like you did outside the first few minutes. You came out much like you did against Washington. Okay, Milwaukee's not Washington, right?
Yes.
Milwaukee's not San Antonio.
Right.
So, you're not having those kind of comebacks against this team, right? And it's a dangerous game to play. You fall behind, say, okay, we'll just find a way to dig back in. Okay, you got away with it twice, but now you're playing with fire.
Yeah. That's now 6 first quarters consecutive that the Raptors lost. They're 3-3. They were able to pull it out in San Antonio.
A young team.
Yeah, they did a nice
Dallas.
job.
Or no, were they up against Dallas?
I don't know if it was Dallas. What was the other one?
No, Washington.
Dallas and Washington.
Yeah. Right, and
they came out with wins after being down big.
And they were down. They were down at the end of the first quarter against
San
Dallas.
Antonio, a young team, right?
And you can't, like Leo said, you can't just say, okay, let's dig a hole, see how deep we can dig it, and try to climb out. Like you can't continually do that. And like I said, that's 6 straight first quarters that they've lost. And the rest of the game, they won the second quarter, they won the third quarter, they won the fourth quarter by a total of 1 point.
Made it interesting.
You're down 15 in the first, and they had it to 13.
13,
Like
yeah.
they outscored Milwaukee by 20 points, and we're still trailing by double figures.
Right. What did you guys make of Grady Dick's first NBA start?
Look, bottom line is this is all about down the road, and he's got to fill out. He's got to get stronger. The stamina, being able to play through contact and all that. The thing I like about him is he's got game. He can put it down. He can get to the next level of the defense. He's got good playmaking. He's got some bursts to him. Shots got to be there. We know he can shoot the ball. He's got to, but it's different being a college shooter versus a pro shooter with the distance on the shot. And again, that comes from strength and stamina.
Closeouts come a little quicker.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
But to me, when you think you could just get into him, boom, he goes right by you. So it's going to take time. But to me, I like the fact, I've said it before, I'll say it again, they're throwing him on the deep end. Scotty Barnes' his rookie year, they threw him out there. That's the only way he's going to get better.
He's only the third teenager
Yep, that's right.
to start, right?
Tracy
with
McGrady
Grady and Chris Bosh. And what I see from the young man is he continues to figure it out. Like I looked at a game.
He's a basketball player. He's not a shooter. He's not just a shooter.
I looked at.
That's my point.
I looked at the game against San Antonio and I said, you know what? Watch Doug McDermott, a guy who's been in this league for time as a shooter that's figured it out. And I'll tell you what, Grady's a better basketball player. He's a better playmaker. He's got a better handle. He seems to have a terrific sense.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So you watch a guy like McDermott and where he's getting his shots and how he's squeezing them off, and then add that to all the stuff you already have. I like what's ahead for this kid.
I think the hard thing for a young guy, a shooter like him that comes in the league, the speed of the game.
Yes.
Because you look at a lot of shots, everything's sped up. right? Team like you. I remember having a conversation with J.J. Redick, right? A great shooter in this league for a long, long time. I said, what was the hardest thing? He goes, you're playing against freakish athletes. I can fake, put the ball on the floor. I can go. They've recovered. They're there, right? So even though you make a move and you beat somebody, they're there. And so you have to speed everything up. From your catch to your step to your shot, everything's got to be quicker. And that doesn't happen overnight. It just doesn't. And then defensively, guess what? While you're figuring that out, they're coming at you.
Yeah.
Because they know you're a rookie, and they're going to try to get you on the bench in no time.
It's interesting you say that. I heard Peyton Manning the other night in an interview. He talked about the fact that things I could do when I was at the University of Tennessee as a stud, All-American quarterback, and a top pick for the Indianapolis Colts. Those things, I couldn't do any of that stuff when I got to the pros because the closing ability for a quarterback or a safety at the next level is that much more elite.
Yeah.
And to your points, I think it's just a matter of time and processing and learning. And the more he does it, the better he's going to get.
I feel that on the dance floor, so I get that. All right, it's time for our
Special guest.
Fan of the night first, and then special guest later.
Fan of the night.
The fan of the night is Shamari McGee. Please welcome in Shamari McGee. All right,
Shamari.
Come on in, bud.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you.
How are you? How's everything?
All right,
How's everything?
Great, how are you?
Jack.
have a seat.
Shamari's a New Yorker.
All right, we like that. What part of New York?
Manhattan, baby.
Manhattan, okay. I'm
Gotta
from
make it
Brooklyn,
happen.
okay.
How are you guys? Everything good?
All good.
Living a dream.
Do you have a question or a comment for the guys before you spin and shoot for a prize?
Shamari's got game. He's
Yes,
from New York.
yes,
We
yes.
know
Very
he's
quick
okay on the
question.
hoops.
So right now, the Raptors are 5-6, and I just want to know: are we in an upward trending direction or a downward trending direction? We're above 500, or below 500, excuse me, by one game.
My feeling is it could be worse. With a new system, new players, all the learning going on. 500 is not a bad place. And you think about it, you can play the win-lose game on the schedule. I don't care what people say. That Chicago game was experience because that one should have been in the left-hand column instead of the right.
True.
And then when I think about Portland, I would have liked to seen that one in the left-hand column too. Now, people will say, well, you stole one from Milwaukee. That's okay, fine. So you're up and down. I just like the way the team's trending, learning Darko's system.
Shamari, I look at it and I go, hey, look, they've beaten the Bucks, and I think they convincingly beat the Bucks. They beat Dallas, a good team.
On the road.
And by the way, they beat Minnesota. Look at Minnesota's one of the best teams in the league.
There you go. Good
So
point,
they've had
Jack.
3 signature wins already.
Yep.
That shows there. But we've also, to your point, seen games against Portland,
Washington.
Chicago. Even though they beat Washington, you're going, what's going on? So they got to figure it out. And hey, look, you got the Celtics Friday night. Tough task. You got Detroit on Sunday. You got to win that game. Just stay around 500, figure this out, and then eventually get on that run where you maybe win 4 or 5 in a row, and suddenly you're 3 games over 500 and you're having a good year.
Yeah, and I think that'll come because, like I said, you got a new coach. You've had some injuries too, right? And this team really can't absorb a lot of injuries right now, especially against a guy like OG. But you look at a guy like Otto Porter, who I think could be a contributor.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't played in, a year?
Yeah.
Right? And we just talked about Grady, that he's got to find his sea legs in the NBA. So if you look at all that, I'd say, you're not in a bad spot.
Yeah.
You just got to keep staying with it, like Zach's saying.
I got to say one other thing. If you're going to struggle shooting the ball from 3, you got to guard the 3.
Right.
And the Raptors coming into the game tonight were top 10 in 3-point defense. Tonight they weren't.
Right.
And that's what made it look so bad. Even if you don't have OG and Gary Trent Jr., you're saying to yourself, hey, man, we cannot give up the 3.
Not that many.
And they gave up a ton of them.
Okay,
Make or
speaking
miss
of
league.
3,
Make
it's
or
a
miss
make or
league.
miss league. You got to
Make or
make
miss
one
league,
here to
baby.
win this prize.
All right, let's see if we
Shamari,
can do
let's
this.
step up here. You got to spin first.
Spin?
Okay,
All right.
spin first. That's the ball. Let's see what you got. There's 2 tickets on there, appetizers, bags, socks. What do we got?
Baby. 2 tickets.
We got, oh, so close. We got a hat. All right, here's the line. This is more like a free throw or a
you
layup
got
for
this.
you.
This is easy.
You can make that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
All
All right.
right, what's going on here?
We'll get that back. You got a second. No, you got a second shot. You got a second shot.
Come on, man. You're
This close, we gotta be over.
Yeah. No, whatever you want. Oh, again.
New York, man. Come on, New York.
Backboard.
There you go. There you
You
go.
gotta call
All
it.
right. Shamari, here you go, bud.
All right.
Here's the hat.
Is this a hat for me? Thank
Yeah,
you, thank
let's
you, Jack.
show
I
the-
appreciate
show
you
the
guys.
fans here.
The Raptors?
Yeah, there you
Thank
go.
you guys so much. Randy, I appreciate you guys. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
Shamari.
Appreciate you, Jack. Thank you,
Appreciate
man.
it, buddy.
Thank you.
All right, be
Appreciate
good.
you guys. B. Jones, I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much.
All right.
All right, time for the big guest here.
Does he know that was a Randy Warren hat?
It's used. Nobody wants it. All right. Our guest tonight is a recipient of the Tom Longboat Award, which recognizes Aboriginal athletes for their outstanding contributions to sport in Canada. Please welcome Michael Linklater. Michael, come on in,
Michael.
Michael. All right. How are you? Good to meet you. Good to meet you. Have a seat.
Great to see you guys.
Michael, great to see you.
Great to see you.
All right, this is big. This is big time for us. We got a baller in the house. We got a real baller in the house. Okay, first question though, I want to talk. You are the co-founder of the Sohkisiwin Solutions,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Tell us what that is, what that firm does, and how they were helping with the Raptors.
Yeah, so my business partner and I, Stephanie Young, who's here,
Shout out Stephanie.
Yeah,
What's
Stephanie.
up? What's up?
So we co-founded Sohkisiwin Solutions, and basically what we do is we help corporate Canada strategically answer calls to action with respect to truth and reconciliation. So what we found is that there's a lot of organizations out there that want to take a step forward in doing something better with respect to answering calls to action, but they don't know how.
Right.
So we help them and we provide that space for them alongside them in terms of whatever their endeavors are. So with respect to the Raptors, they reached out to us. We had ongoing conversations, but we got an opportunity to present to the players and to the coaching staff and the support staff, and we gave them basically kind of a snapshot of not only the history of Canada, because a lot of these are Americans coming in and they don't know the history of Canada, but the true history in terms of what's happened to the Indigenous people, but why it's important today. So helping them understand that, because now, like tonight, Indigenous Heritage Night, now the players understand why this is a significant day or why it's important to celebrate this.
Right. You started playing basketball at age 12.
Yes.
Just tell us what your first memories of that the beautiful game.
For me, what inspired me to pick up a basketball was a brand new outdoor court that was built in our schoolyard. And so that schoolyard, I came outside for recess and there was a whole bunch of people surrounding it. I had never played before, so the atmosphere that was created got me excited, and I said, that's something I want to do. So picked up the basketball and started playing, and yeah, it took me around the world.
Can I tell you? So
Hey.
I did the Saskatchewan won the championship. I was calling the game, right? And I'm looking at this guy going, man, I love the way this guy plays. It's just this intensity. So we actually had a conversation last time we saw each other that I didn't, because they said you weren't from Canada. That's what they told me, right? And so I'm going, well, geez, I'd love to bring him into camp with the national team, get a run. Then he tells me he could have been there. I go, wait a minute, come on. That could have been a great experience.
But it was because you were born in the U.S., right?
Right.
You were
Yes.
born in Jersey,
Yeah,
right?
so I was born in the States, so it's true on both sides. So what a lot of people may or may not know in Canada is there was something called the 60s scoop. So when the governments had a hand in taking Indigenous children from their families, adopting them off to non-Indigenous
Right.
families. So my mother was a part of that. So she ended up getting adopted to Trenton, New Jersey. And so before she gave birth to me, my family back home found her, which were originally from Treaty 6 territory in Saskatchewan. And so our family out there, so I'm status Treaty Indian, as they say, federal government. And to be out there, I was born in the States, so dual citizen, but
But I'm
yeah.
mad that no one gave me that information.
I will say this. When Leo Rautins was the coach of the national team, he turned over every rock, every stone, everything there was to try to find the best players in this country. And I give you a lot of credit for that.
Well, we had to look at, like I said, you excited me just your passion, right? You guys wanted to chip, but your passion, the way you played with, and obviously one of our needs was at the time we needed a point guard. So just to somebody that had that kind of that fight.
Jacko, what's your line? A love affair with the orange ball?
Right. Well, that was kind of my point, to that point about the passion. You see now the folks in the Indigenous community and how they support basketball and the love affair they have now that you had when you were 12 years old to now, when you see it now, it's more common and kids are participating at a much higher level right now. It's got to make you feel great.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, historically, we're natural athletes, our people. The way our lifestyle was prior to European contact, so we have it in us, and so there's a number of sports that our people have excelled at. Basketball is one of the most accessible sports, and for me, growing up in the neighborhood that I grew up in, it was something that was easy. I don't know if you guys remember, but back in the day, Shaquille O'Neal had the deal with KFC, where if you bought a special deal, you got a basketball that has a handprint. If we didn't have a basketball, we just chipped in to go get one of these meals at KFC, and then we got a ball with it. So
buckets.
Randy, and I'll say this, Michael being a good friend, my tie tonight is an ode and a tribute to Indigenous
it's
peoples.
beautiful. It's beautiful.
I bought it in Victoria when I was doing the game between Canada and Argentina, and the artist, Bill Helene, his dad, Art, was one of the most prolific Indigenous basketball players in Canada.
Wow.
So Bill designed the tie, and
It's a beautiful tie.
my research team back there.
You look great, Joe.
Yeah, no, it's.
And it goes well with it. The ensemble's beautiful. He's a beautiful man.
Fashion consultant.
That's wonderful. I have one quick story since we talked about the national championship. I went back and watched the video and the commentary after. And
So Leo was doing the game.
Yes, with Rod Black.
Yeah,
Roddy!
And so, which was hilarious. So they were talking about me, and they were saying, well, one thing's for sure is that Linklater leads the league in children. Because I was a student athlete and I was a father as well.
That was Rod's line.
That was Rod's.
Rod always came up with something like that.
I led the league in children.
Rod Black
That's hilarious.
Research. I don't know. Yeah.
So shout out to my kids.
All right, it's good.
One of the things that I think people don't know is that you represented Team Canada at the World Cup for 3-on-3, eventually becoming one of the top-ranked 3-on-3 players in the world. What do you like about the 3-on-3 game that's maybe different than the 5-on-5?
So what I love about 3x3 is that you have to be a well-rounded player. You cannot hide. You can't just be a specialty player doing one thing or the other because the game moves so quickly. It's a 12-second shot clock. The ball's live once it goes through the hoop, and as soon as it goes through the hoop and you touch it, you have 12 seconds to clear it and score.
Right.
So I might be switched off on a 7-footer. 5'9" with my shoes on. So you have to be able to guard big, you have to be able to guard small, you have to be able to shoot, defend, you have to have the IQ. So what I truly think is that every youth sports, with regards to basketball, should be starting out with 3x3 because you get more touches.
If you want to break it down further, us old guys, what did we grow up? We grew up playing 2-on-2, 3-on-3 in the schoolyards all the time. And you're playing with older guys. They're telling you, don't take that shot. Hey, set the screen, roll. That's how we learn how to play.
Pass and go away.
So what we're watching with the Raptors now,
There's a lot of that.
Darko has stripped it back and is playing a lot of traditional basketball. Pass, cut. I mean, you see the stuff they get on the inside and how they
But
penetrate,
the funny thing
kick
is,
it out.
younger players find it hard to understand and grasp, whereas that's how we learn how to play. Right? That's how. So I agree with you.
Well, the thing I learned, you learn, same in New York playing in the schoolyards. Everything is actually, you could take the ball off the backboard and dribble it down yourself, but most of the time it's 2-man action or 3-man action, and the other two guys, we got to figure out what they're doing. But to your point, it's totally right. And the more you play that, the better you get at your awareness level of how to play the game.
It's become an Olympic sport now.
I like it.
I love it.
It's a good point.
So in 2010, you led the University of Saskatchewan Huskies to their first CIS National Championship. Then you were a champion in the CEBL with the Saskatchewan Rattlers in 2019. So you're a champion. How does being a champion affect your support and mentorship of First Nations youth?
I think for us who've been around the game for so long, you and played it, you understand, but how much the game actually transfers into real life.
Totally.
We say it all the time, but as a kid, when you hear this, it doesn't necessarily hit home until after you've played a while, and you're sitting around a table and it's time to make decisions, and you can quickly pick out people who haven't played team sports. And you can see people who have been very driven in the professional world. And I've even talked to people who were recruiters when it came to their organization. They're looking for people who played team sports. So when you win a championship, it's also different from winning games. So winning games is different than winning a championship. A lot of things need to come into place. A lot of people have experience with winning games, but to actually go the full distance and win a championship, once you've done that, you can look back and say you know what it takes. And so that goes for anything. When we want to do something in our lives, a new career, whatever it is, a new goal, endeavor, it takes that, and all that experience.
Right. Tag that, what's the old line? Sports not only builds character or reveals it. Yeah. The best, I think we would all agree with this, the best way our character is revealed is when we fail. Right? Yeah. And how you get back up, how you respond to failure. That's why people want to hire athletes, because you're going to fail, and you got to be able to figure things out. And to me, I think it's a great teaching tool for all of us.
I always thought, and Leo's sister was a superintendent in a school board, and for me, all of the
wanted you out of the school.
No, I was in a different. I was in a different district, thankfully. All of the stuff that we try to teach kids, core values, you can learn through sports. Respect, responsibility, honesty, teamwork, togetherness, how to fail, how to come back, like all of those things. Initiative, courage, fairness, like perseverance. All of those things we're trying to teach. You put a kid in a team sport, they're going to learn it. They might not learn all of it all at one time, but as you said, when you become a champion, Michael, you've gone through all of those.
And and tying that back with respect to failure, that's where we make our greatest learning opportunities, is from failure. Yeah. And tying it back to reconciliation, a lot of organizations are frozen in place because they don't want to make a mistake. So I always encourage people, regardless of who you are, where you are, what you work for, as long as you're taking that step with good intentions and in a meaningful way, it's okay to mess up.
Yeah, good stuff right there. Yeah, it's really good.
Okay. Yep. Great
Love
stuff.
it.
Gonna stop it there. Next game for the Raptors Friday here at home against the Boston Celtics. First game of the in-season tournament. 7:30 is the start. After the game, come on by Real Sports. Be a part of the show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Thanks, Mike.